on the pro account.
What's that?
There's a pro account. Maybe
I should have a different account. Okay. All right, so this is recording, but it might turn off.
I will put a phone.
Good. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay. So let's read Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 14. Today is November 23rd, 2025. We're here at Gopal Eco Village in Groveland, Florida. Do we have a copy of Canto 1? Yes, that's kind of stuck in. Thank you. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaivanotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very immediate conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nicham bhagavata sevaya bhagavat utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, entitled Questions by the Sages, Text 14. Apana Samsritim Gauram Yat Nama Vivasha Grinan Tata Sadya Vimucheta Yat Vibheti Swayam Bayam Apana Samsritim Gauram Yanama Vivasho Grinan Tata Sadyo Vimucheta Yad Vibheti Swayam Bayam Apana Samsmritim Goram Yanama Vivasho Grinan Tata Sadyo Vimucheta Yad Vibheti Swayam Bayam Apana Samsmritim Goram Yanama Vivasho Grinan Tata Sadyo Vimucheta Yad Vibheti Swayam Bayam
Apana samshritim goram.
Apana Samsmritim Goram
Yanana nama vivasho grana.
Yanama Vivasho Grinan
Tata sadyo vimucheta.
Vimucheta
Yad vibheti swayam bayam.
Yad Vibheti Swayam Bayam
Apana samsritim ghoram.
Apana Samsmritim Goram
Yannama vivasho guna.
Yanama Vivasho Grinan
Tatha sadyo vimocheta.
Asadyo Vimucheta
Yad vibheti swayam bhayam.
Yad Vibheti Swayam Bayam
Apana samsritim goram.
Apana Samsmritim Goram
Dhamma vivasho granam.
Yanama Vivasho Goranan
Tata sadyo vimuchitata.
Asadyo Vimucheta
Yabhiti swayam bayam.
Yad Vibheti Swayam Bayam
Apana samshritim ghoram.
Apana samsmritim goram.
Yannama vivashoganam.
Yanama vivasho grinhan.
Yata sadhya vimuchyeta.
Tata sajo vimuchyeta.
Yat viveti swayam vayam.
Yat viveti swayam vayam. Apana,
Apana,
being entangled.
being
Being
entangled.
entangled
Samsmritim,
Samsritim,
in the hurdle of birth and death.
in the hurdle of birth and death.
Goram,
or
too complicated.
too complicated.
Yat,
Yat,
what?
what,
Nama,
Nama,
the absolute name.
the absolute name.
Vivasa,
Vivasha,
unconsciously.
unconsciously.
Grinan,
Grinan,
chanting.
Chanting,
Tata,
Tata,
from that.
Nat,
Sadhya,
Satya,
at once.
at once.
Vimuchyeta,
Vimochita,
gets freedom.
Gets freedom.
Yat,
Yat,
that which.
that which.
Vibeti,
Viveti,
fears.
fears.
Svayam,
Shram,
personally.
personally,
Bhayam,
Bhayam,
fear itself.
fear itself.
Translation. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Vasudeva, or Lord Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the supreme controller of everything. There is no one in creation who is not afraid of the rage of the Almighty. Great asuras like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, and others who were very powerful living entities were all killed by the personality of Godhead. And the Almighty Vasudeva has empowered his name with the powers of his personal self. Everything is related to him and everything has its identity in him. It is stated herein that the name of Krishna is feared even by fear personified. This indicates that the name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. Therefore, the name of Krishna is as powerful as Lord Krishna himself. There is no difference at all. Anyone, therefore, can take advantage of the holy names of Lord Sri Krishna, even in the midst of greatest dangers. The transcendental name of Krishna, even though uttered unconsciously or by force of circumstances, can help one obtain freedom from the hurdle of birth and death. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamupakadamayam Darati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaragnatam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gauranga Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatayubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Cha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gavani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 Chapter 1 Text 14 Apanasam Smritim Goram Yanama Vivasho Vinam Tata Sajo Vimucheta Yad Bibeti Swayam Bayam. Translation. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fears personified. Hare Krishna. So we're here at Gopaliko village. And here there's Nimai Pandit Prabhu. And Hari Gopal Prabhu, Nitya Gopal Prabhu, Bhakti Rosa, and online there's Parampara Prabhu. Welcome, Hare Krishna. And okay, so it's quite for me, this is a striking verse. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death, that's us conditioned souls, can be freed immediately by even the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by the stage and in the soul, recorded work. That's beyond, that's above my pay grade. Okay, yeah. So extolling the power, the power of the holy name. Okay, of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chanting the names of Krishna. And okay, so this we're reading from the first chapter of Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam has 335 chapters. And so in this, here we have the sages at Namisharanya asking questions. And then the next 334 chapters, practically 18,000 verses, are in response to these questions. And so these questions are like the seed and the source of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. And so this is the first chapter, and we can say, well, like the what's called the seed or the nutshell verses of Bhagavatam, that's second canto, 9th chapter. Remembering about 10 years ago, Patrick Prabhu, he organized, we did a course, sort of a reading group on the seed verses of Bhagavad Gita and the seed verses of Bhagavatam. And it was very ecstatic. And then we can say that like the invocation verses are the first 3 verses of this chapter, starting with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oh, my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So this is Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas, who to kind of give the cream of the Vedas. Nigama Kalpatarur Galitam Palam, Sukhamukha Ritadravya Samyutam, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam, Mahorasika Bhuli Babuka, O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam as the ripened fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. And it emanated from the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami, and therefore this fruit has become even sweeter, even though it was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. So that's the third verse of this first chapter. And we can say it's like the last of the 3 invocation verses. The first 2 invocations are invoking Krishna, and then the first invokes Krishna, and then the second and third is all about the Bhagavatam. Dharma Pujita Pukutra Saranam Satam Vejam, like that, completely rejecting all religious activity which is materially motivated. This Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is realized by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. And I described that this Bhagavatam is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva in maturity, we can say in maturity of his literary career, okay, the maturity of his realization. And then starting with like text 4, then Vyasadeva he describes the scene there at Namasharanya, the 1,000-year sacrifice, in like that, and then the questions that become the source of the rest of the Bhagavatam start with text 9 of chapter 1, and then here, so we can see that the sages in Namisharanya, they're asking questions at the same time. They're already like highly enlightened, realized souls. They're not in ignorance to come out with a verse like this, right? Because this isn't one of their question verses. They're stating realization, such amazing realization. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death, Krishna describes, Jamamitra Dravyadi Dukkadoshan Darshanam, that like a core aspect of the process of knowledge is realizing the inherent evil, the inherent unnaturalness of being stuck in a body that's subject to the cycle of samsara, dava, nalalita, loka, birth, death, old age, and disease. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately. So it takes 1,000,000 lifetimes. No, not even 2 seconds. Immediately, even unconsciously. You know, just like Hare Krishna. But we're fully encouraged. Like this morning before japa, we read some excerpts from Srila Prabhupada, and he's fully encouraged. Don't chant unconsciously, chant consciously, hearing each syllable, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It's said here that we chant unconsciously. The examples given, Chaitanya Charitamrita, like in the Arabic language, the Muslim language, haram means terrible, terrible. And so there was someone identifying as a Muslim and attacked by a boar, and he was like being gored and killed. So horrible, horrible, haram, haram. But he's chanting the name of Rama. He's chanting the name of Rama, so he gets liberated. So it's unclear. He wasn't thinking I'm chanting the name of Sitapati. Can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. So that so feared by fear personified. So this is so relevant because conditioned life means material. Anything other than pure devotion means we're living in fear. Means we're living in fear. To the extent that we're not realizing ourselves as not the body and the spirit soul. It is Krishnera Srupohoy, Jivera Srupoy Krishnera Nichidas, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti, Beta Prakash, eternal servants of Krishna. That means we're living in fear because, actually we quoted this verse yesterday in the Transformative Communication workshop. There was like practically all the participants, they had some bhava around Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. We quoted Vayam Dvitiya Viniveshatasya. To the extent that we're thinking we're the body, to the extent we're thinking that we're something temporary, we're going to be in anxiety. We're going to be insecure. We're going to be insecure because we're eternal beings. We're timeless beings. We're natural. If someone attacks fight or flight, because so because that's the nature of the soul, to seek bliss, to seek eternity, to seek cognizance, to seek knowledge. And so as we're identifying with something that will die, and more technically even is already dead, and our pleasures, our so-called happiness, is based on that is based on that which is temporary, something that will be crushed by time, by time. And Ajantavanta Conte and Nateshu Ramate Buddha. That because we're eternal beings, so then we're gonna lose it, and it's true. I'm going to be annihilated. I'm going to be annihilated, and I'm identifying. Yehi samsparsha jambuka dukkha unayevate ajantavanta nateshu mute Buddha. So a truly wise person doesn't seek the pleasure, doesn't seek pleasure, happiness, bliss, satisfaction, security in the contact of the senses with the sense objects. Doesn't mean the senses can't be used. This verse is all about using the sense of sound in the process of liberation. And so, and so that so we're naturally we're going to be in fear. We're going to be in fear because what we're dependent on. My ego is based on something false and temporary, and so we're insulted, we're dishonored, means like I'm being destroyed here because I am this person who's smart and virtuous, and I am this person who is the best at this, and I'm a respected member of the community, and now I'm being slandered because like I'm identifying with this very temporary mask image. We're just reading recently in the purport to 10th chapter Bhagavatam. Prabhupada talks about, he said, like, the very mask is inauspicious. We think it's auspicious in illusioned life. So everyone's suffering, everyone's in fear. Everyone's in fear. And the sages here at Nami Shrine, you hear right at the beginning of Bhagavatam. They're saying, so just by chanting the names of Krishna, by chanting the name of Krishna, and that name, then we're enmeshed in the cycle of birth and death. Complicated meshes of birth and death. Meshes, we get the imagery of the of a network. Okay. Anyone ever experienced being entangled in the complicated meshes of the internetwork? Anyone ever experienced that? I'm raising my hand.
No, I know.
No, then it can never happen to you. Yeah. Just also the complicated meshes. It's like a net, like a fish caught in the net. Fish is caught in the net. So now in the modern times, we can all get caught in the net of the internetwork. Okay? It's an analogy. It says just they had vision. I'm thinking this is I'm just going to share conjecture here, but actually okay, like in the Bible, like Book of Revelation, have this 666, the mark of the beast. I don't know if you ever heard of that. Yeah, okay, right, okay. So in the ancient Hebrew, they have gematria. It's there in Sanskrit also, but I know more about Hebrew. Gematria, we can maybe even see the roots of the word geometry. Gematria means it means like it's a rigorous numerical system based on the Hebrew letters. Okay, like because the Hebrew conception, like the Sanskrit, like Hebrew, kisei means chair. So they say like it's different than chair, but like kisei, that is the chair. That is chair. And so the Hebrew letters, it's very scientific. And so just like the name of Krishna is Krishna, it's like each verse reveals truth and is non-different from the truth it reveals. So the biblical Hebrew has that conception of the rabbis there. So each letter has a numerical equivalent. Actually, back about 25, 30 years ago, there was a book published called The Bible Code. And they found Hare Krishna, Shanta Shivamani Prabhu, welcome, Hare Krishna. And they found so like the Bible predicts the future in ways that by statistics, like there would be no chance, there would be like an infinitesimal. So in Hebrew, actually, there is no W, like there's no J. That's why I say like if we were to go back to 2,000 years ago, the time of Jesus, guaranteed no one was saying Jesus because there's no J in that language. If you ask, I'm looking for Jesus, like they wouldn't even know who you're talking about. You got 5 letters in the name Jesus, they're all wrong. No, really, they're all wrong. Like if you look at his actual name, which is Yeshua or Yeshu, so just interesting. Of course, if someone says Jesus with feeling, then Jesus accepts the feeling, but still. Okay, anyhow, but then, so the closest they have to the W is the Vav, like my name would be, there is no wolf, would be Wolf, Vav, Vav. So the numerical, so the numerical equivalent of WWW is 666. Interesting. Okay, so
The word Hebrew itself has the W in the end.
right, yeah, right. In English, it does. In English, it would be Ivrit. Yeah, no one says Hebrew in Hebrew, so it all becomes anglicized. Right. Ivrit. Good point. Thanks for that. So Toda Rabah. Thank you very much in Hebrew. So, okay. So, yeah, I just Nichika Prabhu asked me to speak on Bhagavatam, and this morning before japa, we read some things from Prabhupada. Very powerful and amusing. He was saying, yeah, don't just chant shnick, 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 shnick. Chant with attentiveness, like that. And then Prabhupada's imitating the shnick, shnick, shnick. And so, yeah, so much gets at the essence of, so like we chant Hare Krishna, chant any name of God. Of course, Idishwar Dashakam Nam Nam Kalakamashanashanam, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. This mantra is composed of the names of God, especially recommended for many reasons. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yagyanam Japa Yagyosmi. He says, I am the japa sacrifice. So Krishna is non-different from his name. Krishna is that process of chanting japa. He's non-different from his form. Yagyanam Japa Yagyosmi. And so this is, we were talking briefly, Bhakti and I, about, so like the whole arti process, we're offering sound to the source of all sound. We're engaging all the senses in the service of Krishna. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. Krishna is the master of the senses, so we engage all the senses, including the sense of speech, the faculty of hearing, in his service. So we chant Hare Krishna, and we're liberated. We're liberated. That's what this verse gets at. That's what this verse gets at. So it's just like, well, I've chanted Hare Krishna, so I'm liberated. So good. It's true. But then like, I don't feel liberated. Okay. So Prabhupada gives the metaphor of like we're drowning in the ocean, right? We're drowning in this. So there's so many analogies: drowning in the ocean, burning in a forest fire. And Prahlad Maharaj gives the analogy of like we've fallen into a pit of poisonous snakes. And that's like the analogy for the material world, but the actual material world is more severe. It's more horrific than that. But these sages and pure devotees are trying to give us an idea. Like, imagine if we're burning in a forest fire, we've fallen in a pit of snakes. Ivam janam, vipatitam, prabhavahi kupa. But the actual, then that's the whole point. Like the Maya, here we are in this like horrendous condition, worse than having fallen in a pit of snakes, and we're thinking, I'm doing really good. Fine, I'm doing great. Okay. So that's the Avrinatma Shakti. Avrinatma covered. We think we're happy in this like suffering, illusory condition. So, and then this is transcendental sound vibration, transcendental form, Sri Sri Gauranitai, the form of the pure devotee. And that's why like we have pure devotee. Everyone all the personalities who Srila Prabhupada established on the altar that he established are completely pure personalities, whether Vishnu Tattva or Jiva Tattva. And Prabhupada makes it very clear that there's this conversation in New York, 1966, and a woman, apparently with some insight, was Prabhupada's talking about material form. And the woman says, but isn't it that like a pure personality is non-different from their picture, like Jesus? And Prabhupada says, yes, and one needs to be completely pure to be non-different from their picture. And so I noticed on the database, they deleted that lecture. It's very interesting because they just did. I'm going to write Taken Prabhu about that. He's a Safatov graduate to Foundational Advanced Seminar. He's a leader there at the Bhaktivedanta Arcades. archives. And so like, as far as Srila Prabhupada's instructions to add the pictures of anyone to the altar that he established, there are not any instructions like that. But anyhow, if someone wants to be worshiping or serving other pictures, if those personalities are not completely free from any tint of the material nature, then that's idol worship, meaning serving or worshiping something as spiritual that's actually material. Okay. So we chant Hare Krishna and then we're liberated. And we've all experienced that. That's why we're chanting Hare Krishna. That's why we're here. Okay. Prabhupada gives the example of the boat. So we're drowning in an ocean. We chant Hare Krishna. We follow the Acharya. We follow Srila Prabhupada. And then we are liberated from the water. We're liberated from the water. That's true. At the same time, Prabhupada emphasizes that, but this is, we need to ply the boat very carefully, very expertly, very consciously. Otherwise, the boat's in the middle of, there's storms, there's hurricanes, waves. The boat's this very fragile situation. This very fragile situation. So Prabhupada's cautioning us is like, oh, look, I wear neck beads and I chant some japa, so I'm liberated. That's what it says. So Prabhupada's cautioning, we need to apply very carefully, otherwise we can fall off the boat. The boat goes under because the boat's very puny compared to the ocean. Yeah. And so when have we experienced that? I experienced that every day, lots of times. Like, let's say during morning program association with sincere Vaishnavas, chanting japa, Bhagavatam. So we experience liberation from the pangs of material fear and material miseries. And then where will I be 5 hours from now? What's going to happen? So it means, so Prabhupada's saying that, so it's one thing, the philosophy of true, chant Hare Krishna, we are liberated. Now, to remain liberated steadily, enduringly, nishta, that's another discussion. That's another discussion. It's a distinction between, okay, I'm on the boat, and the boat is above the water, true, but that's different than being on solid land. Okay, that would be like the Uttama Adhikari, with every moment is choosing full absorption in devotional service, full absorption in chanting Hare Krishna. So that's in the analogy, that's like solid land. All right. So, every day I'm endeavoring with some drops of sincerity sadhana, I'm experiencing liberation. And then every day I experience back in the water. Whoa, what just happened? Whoa, slippery slope. Wow. Okay. So then that's where the commitment comes in. That's where discipline comes in. That's where sadhana. And we get our sadhana from our current link to the Parampara Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, let's say without Prabhupada's guidance, I'm just reading, even if I learned the Sanskrit and read the Sanskrit of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bengali of Chaitanya Charitamrita, I'm sure there'd be some benefit there. I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do. I know what to do because of Srila Prabhupada. Now I wish I was doing it more steadily and more sincerely, but I'm very 100% clear what to do. And that's what it means. He's our current link. We understand the practical application and the philosophical import of the Vedas through our current link to the Parampara Srila Prabhupada. And so we have our sadhana, there's a conversation. There was something devotees were mentioning something about 16 rounds per day, maybe some. It's onerous. Why not 16,000 rounds? Maybe they were hoping Can we just do 1 round? Why not 16,000 rounds? So Prabhupada's making the point, as I understand it, that like it's vital for us to commit to a minimum of 16 rounds per day because we're not enthusiastic to chant 16,000 rounds per day with spontaneous love. If we're spontaneously, lovingly inspired from the core of our being to chant 16,000 rounds per day, then we wouldn't need to commit to 16 rounds per day or rise by 5 a.m. But then it's just like, then it's like the Sankhya Pravakanamagana not to be Kalavasani, Nidra Haravi Harakani, Bijitau Chajanta Dina Chaya Radha Krishna Gunasmriter Vadoriman and Dana Samawitao Bande Upasanatana Yugal Sri Jiva Gopal Kau Sankhya Pravakanamagana not to be Kalavasani Kritao. The six Goswamis, by numerical commitment, smart goals in terms we sometimes use, by numerical commitment, they committed in a quantitative number to offering obeisances to chanting. They conquered over sleeping and eating. They would sleep. Well, we don't call it sleeping with a pure devotee. We call they're resting their body to engage it in. It's not to engage it in the service of the Sankirtan movement. It's not sleeping in the mode of tamas like I sleep. So, and Prabhupada would say, so they would rest only 2 hours per night. But sometimes they would forget to do that. I forget many things, but sleeping and eating, I'm on it. I'm on it. Okay, but they would sometimes, like a few drops of buttermilk per day and 2 hours of rest. But sometimes they would forget to do that because they were so absorbed in 16,000 rounds per day. And so, so if we're not in that consciousness, then if we really want to make advancement out of the material ocean to disentangle the complicated meshes of birth and death, we really want to make advancement to really free ourselves from fear. And that's what the sages at Name Sharanya are imploring us. Free yourselves from fear, and here's the process. Bhagavatam, chanting Krishna's name. Then discipline and commitment is required. Commitment means like, I don't feel like it, and I'm going to do it anyway. And that's how we grow. And that's true in any field. If we want to become an expert in a musical instrument, an expert in a sport, we want to get a PhD in physics. It means, I feel like going to the beach this weekend, and I feel like just watching these Netflix movies, but I'm going to study the books. I'm going to practice the scales to become expert. That's true. That's true in any field, and so, yesterday at the workshop, so just for those who weren't there, it was a beautiful experience for me. Just such a receptive group and intelligent and humble. And there was one fellow, he got up at one point and he said, us doctors, we're the worst. He said, we're the worst. That patients will come to us and we're just like looking at our notes and they begin to speak about what the problem is, and we'll interrupt them because we're God and we know everything. And he got actually angry and irritated with the whole medical profession. Sometimes the patients will be talking to us and we have the hand on the door. Like, I can't wait till you go away, and I have already prescribed your medication. So he was deeply appreciative of the empathic listening and giving attention. It was very, very moving. And there was one fellow there, and he's doing some service in the field of sound healing. So maybe he wanted to connect with me more, because I didn't mention it, but you mentioned the Hare Krishna Mahamantra dissertation, which that really gets to the core of sound healing. And so that's his field. sound healing. He's developing things, doing services. So I don't know where, but he wanted to connect with me further, because this is, of course, because the social science research and the statistical analyses and ANCOVA and MANCOVA and things like that, they all confirm that chanting Hare Krishna relieves stress, which is another way to say fear. Stress is another way to say fear. Stress, anxiety, strain, cancellation of the core emotion of fear. But that's, so it's not like, oh, because modern so-called science says it, therefore I chant Hare Krishna. Though we do have some like that. I don't think she'll mind that I'll say. We have our Halina, Lenini Shakti Dasi. And so she went through the software courses 10 years ago, 2015. And she's a PhD in veterinary medicine. She was in her 20s at that time. And then she was her philosophical outlook on life was completely materialistic, especially all around the world, but especially in the Czech Republic. Educated persons, it's considered ridiculous to believe in God or something spiritual or non-material. But anyhow, she saw the dissertation. He had the dissertation. She said, "Oh well, if I chant this mantra, it'll relieve my stress." And she saw that it's very rigorously established. So she said, "Okay, I'll relieve my stress." So she started chanting, and then her life was ruined. And her life was ruined. Within 2 weeks later, she went back to Czech Republic, committed to chant at least 16 rounds per day. We didn't give her any guidance to do this, but she would go into the towns of Czech Republic with cartels and just start doing. Myself or Mother Malini, we weren't guiding her to do this. She was just doing it. Within a few months, she published her second book. She'd already published one book in her field of veterinary chiropractic, and her second book essentially was like Bhagavad Gita for horse trainers and horse riders. And then many became vegetarian, many started chanting Hare Krishna. So Krishna says, Chaturvidam Pachante Mam Jana Sukriting Arjun Artojigasar Artati Ganichapa Artarshava. People come to me for different reasons, including to relieve their stress and depression. And that's fine. Krishna is Param Bhavam, Param Dhammam, Pavicham, Paramam Bhavan, the supreme pure. So for whatever reason we approach Krishna, we get purified and our motivations become more and more pure. So, in psychology and emotions and things like coaching, there's infinite subtleties and distinctions of emotions. True. At the same time, in one sense, it could actually be reduced to there's fear and love. Fear and love. It can, and there's a place for reduction, and there's a place to get into the complexities. And so Krishna is the source of all love. Nityasita Krishna Prema Sajikabhuna Shravanani Shuddha Chitte Karye Udai. Love of Krishna is situated in the hearts of all living. Is situated in the hearts of all living entities, and it's awakened by this process of chanting. A quote we've been quoting a lot recently from Gabor Mate, that safety is not the absence of threat, it's the presence of connection. So safety means to that fearless state. And so, because the nature of material life is there will always be threat, whether from other people or insects or animals or natural disturbances or the weather or our own mind, our own body, the illnesses of our own body, there's always going to be threat. And so if our sense of safety and security and fearlessness is based on, I'll just take care of this threat and that threat, there's going to be another 10 million threats, guaranteed. Dukalayama Shashvatam, it's the nature of the place. So safety or fearlessness is the presence of connection. So we chant Hare Krishna, we're connected with the very root of our existence, the very ground of our existence, and that's the solid land. That's the solid land. And of course, we're not experiencing solid land, till we come to a place where whatever's going on, things are going good, not so good. Yami navyate te pusham pushar shaba samaduka sukam dira sam somitatya vaya kapate. Krishna says one who's connected in devotional service, enthusiastically, deeply, in the midst of the happiness and the distress in every field of material endeavor. Okay, that's solid land. That's liberation. Amongst all of the happiness and distress, so that we're fixed in the Krishna's form, Krishna's service. And the easiest way to enter into that connection with the very substratum of our existence, Sri Krishna, Adantarasta, Paramanu, the easiest way is through the name. There's also Krishna's form, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's qualities, and kind of the entrance way is through the faculty of hearing and chanting, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, like that. So this is verse 14 of Canto 1, Chapter 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Alpanasam smritim goram yannama vivasho vinan tata sadyo vimucheta yad vibeti svayam bayam. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. Hare Krishna. Thanks for giving your power of hearing to Srimad Bhagavatam. I welcome any comments, realizations, or questions at this time.
I have a lot of them, Prabhu, but I don't want to take your time.
Nimai Pandit Prabhu, I'd be glad to hear your comments, realizations, questions. Welcome to Vice Chair or add. Glad to be in your association.
It's so good, no? Bodhayanta Paraswaram. So
Yes.
it's a good topic to take. Thank you for taking the topic, the holy name.
Yeah.
The core. So about the point of liberation and not liberation.
Yeah.
We came in the material world because of envy to Krishna.
Yeah.
Now, liberation has many stages.
Yeah.
So liberation is like, one liberation is, there are 4 kinds of liberation.
Yeah.
And Srila Prabhupada also describes the 4 kinds of sins which are there in the heart.
Okay. Yeah.
The 4 stages of sins.
Yeah.
The seed forms,
Seed.
the desire, and then it fructifies, and like that. So when he's talking about holy name unconsciously chanting, what is being actually removed when he's talking about that?
Okay.
Like, and the consciously, what can we tell, like scientifically, I want to understand more.
Okay.
If you have that, yeah.
Well, thank you, Prabhu. I'll share my understanding. Thank you. My understanding is that by this chanting, all of the karma sins, all of the karma, even from the very root, the prarabdha, I'm not clear on all the Sanskrit there, but even the unmanifest, the latent karma, it's all burnt to a crisp. It's all burnt to ashes. A reference for that, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 37. And Krishna says through this process of bhakti, it just completely just, it's a flood that washes away all the karma, even the unmanifest, unlatent from all the lifetimes. That's why we can think, and I know in our psychology and coaching and counseling, we get a lot into like deeply ingrained material habits, so hard to change, so deep like that. At the same time, it's not near as deep as the soul's connection with Krishna. So it removes all the karma from the deepest, most subtle layers, even chanting once. And then, related to the boat analogy, and then we can, and we do, I do, we can reconnect with that karma. We chant, we're liberated from it, and then we can reconnect with it. Um, so liberated doesn't necessarily mean I'm eternally liberated, but I can be eternally liberated. Namo Krishna, Srila Prabhupada references this text here. Namo Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purnashuddha Nityamukta Binat Bandama Namino. The name of Krishna is eternally liberated, pure, perfect, non-different from Krishna. And then that's what we're associating with. So we enter in that place. Eternal doesn't mean forever and ever. Eternal means outside of time altogether. And then, based on our choices, maybe the next moment, we reconnect with our karma. We can reconnect with our karma. Another analogy that comes to mind is just like, even if this unconscious chanting, just like, let's say it's dark out, because fear is the theme in this verse. So it's really pitch dark out, and we're scared. Someone could attack us, or there could be a snake, or I could fall into a pit. But then, even with the first rays of the sunshine, not even talking about the blazing sun in the noon sky, even with the first rays of the sunshine, I'm liberated from the fear. I'm liberated from the fear. I could see, there's not a mugger behind that tree. There's not a snake over there. There's not a pit. And so even if it's not chanting from pure love of Krishna, even that nambas, then it liberates me from the fear. It liberates me from the fear. And then that's my understanding. So we become liberated, and then at the same time we have the potential to hook back up with that machine of the karma we created.
Thank you. So 437.
437.
Refer to Srila Prabhupada is he's saying in the purport, he of course quotes the four
Types of karma. Yeah.
this fire not only burns up all reactions to impious activities, but also all reactions to pious activities,
Yeah.
which is liberation, turning
Yeah.
them to ashes. There are many stages of reaction in the making, reaction fructifying, reaction already achieved, and reaction a priori. But
Yeah.
knowledge of the constitutional position of the living entity burns everything to ashes.
Burns everything to ashes. Yeah.
When one is in complete knowledge, all reactions, both a priori and a posteriori, are consumed.
Yeah.
So, hence, from here, he is talking about one is understanding I am a soul,
Yeah.
part and parcel of Krishna.
Yeah.
These two things,
Yeah.
soul and also part and parcel of Krishna.
Yeah.
The four reactions are burnt up.
Yeah.
Now, unconsciously chanting, how does that happen? I'm not able to figure out a difference for that.
Yeah. Trying to make a connection there.
Which,
Well, the way I see it, if the soul is engaging in bhakti, it means the soul is acting in that liberated position. Because that's what the soul does in liberated state. The soul glorifies Krishna, or the soul offers bhoga to Krishna, or the soul's absorbed in Krishna's words in Bhagavatam. So that's why kind of like Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Projita Janya Eshuvairagam Gyanam Chayana Hitukam, that by engaging in devotional service, that knowledge of who we are as soul is there naturally and automatically. So if we're chanting Hare Krishna, it means we're absorbed in that knowledge that we're not the body, we're spirit soul. Now we can, in the next moment, we can choose Maya.
this where the question comes is about the envy part. Now, I don't know if have you heard of this statement of Srila Prabhupada that performing devotional service, envy becomes naked.
If envy becomes
Naked.
naked, that I mean, like we get to see it very clearly.
Right.
I'm not remembering that exact terminology.
I will send you the reference.
Okay, yeah.
But it's something like because we are covered over with so many thoughts and we don't even realize that we have envy.
Oh, and yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Yeah.
Once this.
Yeah.
By practicing devotion service, then you start seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, it happened to me too, and I was wondering, my God, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, why am I envy? Then I saw Srila Prabhupada saying like that.
Yeah.
That envy. Then one has to tackle the envy, because if the envy is there, then we will go back to the same thing again and again. Isn't it? So
Yeah, that gets at the root, and envy at the root. Thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, and
that's like free will, right?
it's like what?
That is the free will.
That's the free will. Yeah, and because like if we have your envy of God, and I'm not, I don't feel envious, and like that. Oh, I'm envious of someone who got the job that I should have gotten, but I'm not envious of it. But then for me, it reminds me again of that, like a metaphor of like we think, oh, okay, it's gonna take me maybe 20 minutes to clean this room, and then after doing a little dusting, after 20 minutes, I say like, oh my God. Oh, there's just these pillows of death. There's this old sandwich under the bed. How did that get there?
I didn't do that.
Yeah. Right. And then, this is going to take me 2 days at least. So similarly, it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I practice bhakti and cleanse the heart. And then it goes, oh, there's all this like really ugly stuff. And then just like, as you said, as Prabhupada said, because like, we're numb to it. Material life is about being numb to like that really ugly envy at the core. And then and that's why sometimes we'll hear, or sometimes even people leave the practice because like, no, I chanted Hare Krishna, but then like things got worse. No, because I got all this stuff and all this mental stuff. And just like if we're cleaning a room, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And so there is like the joy, chant Hare Krishna, and be happy at the same time. All the stuff came up. It doesn't work. No, all that gunky stuff came up. That's the proof that it does work. Because this chanting Hare Krishna, it's the most powerful force, not just in the universe and all of creation. So it means all that stuff that for years, decades, lifetimes I've been pushing down, to use the beach ball analogy, I've been pushing down. And now with this powerful process of chanting Hare Krishna, it's coming up. And if I'm humble, if I have some humility, that's a blessing. Now I get to pull those weeds. I get to pull those because it's just like if we water the garden, the flowers will grow and the weeds will grow. That's a blessing. I get to see the weeds and pull them. But I think like, oh, this whole process of gardening doesn't work. The weeds are growing. No, it means the watering is powerful. And then all that. And then at the core, that envy, and like surrender my life to Krishna. Like, I mean, I know myself. This when of course, I was taking prasadam for years, began reading some Prabhupada's books. I moved in Israel in 1984. I moved into a temple. And I remember a Bhakti Yoga ashram outside of Tel Aviv, Israel. And the first week or two, I was a pure devotee. No, really. I mean, the others in the ashram, they didn't realize that. But it was just blissful. I was a pure devotee.
There is that opportunity to associate with a pure devotee.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And it was just like it was so bliss, and I was freed of material miseries, and just like it describes. And then and then and then everything shifted, and then it became tormented with doubts and also all sorts of things came up, and some of which I'm still struggling with. Hopefully on higher level, but the upward spiral. But really, because if it was like that, because then and what was happening is that at some point the weeds that I was denying came up and they weren't pretty to look at. And then I was using it rather than just to acknowledge my weeds and the dirt in the heart. I was trying to find doubts in the philosophy and things like that. Just like I just wanted to escape back into sense gratification. So yeah, we do the process, and then the flower bhakti grows, and the weeds become apparent. Like as if we're in a garden, things are growing nicely, but then we start lifting some rocks, and there's all sorts of worms and maggots under there. Gross analogies, but that's what it's like in our heart, and then it's an opportunity to cleanse. Bhakti and Rosa.
So I appreciate your question, Prabhu. I have the same question. So, Hare Krishna. I've experienced the same thing, and just today it made me think of, I've heard of smokers, right, when they've been smoking for years and
Yeah.
they decide to quit, and then they felt fine, they didn't have a problem, and then plaque comes up, and
Stuff comes up,
cough,
yeah.
and, yeah. So anyway, I'm wondering about complacency. So there's the metaphor of holding on to the rope in the ocean.
Yeah.
So just hold on, right?
Yeah, the lifeline.
Exactly. And maybe I've been in just like the swamp or something, like I'm covered and it's muddy. And as I'm being pulled and I'm pulled out, it gets into like cleaner waters, bigger waters.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one thing is that you do begin to see like your surroundings are more clear, so you can see, oh, I'm still like dirty, right? I can see it where I couldn't see it before.
Yes.
But then there's also falling into complacency because like, oh, my situation's better,
Yeah.
right? I'm being given mercy, I'm being given grace, and things are going well, and how to not fall into complacency about things going well for you. And that's one question. And then the other question is about making friends with our mind when we are bewildered. So for example, you just came from the swamp, you've been holding on and you get pulled and you're in a completely different scenario, right? You find yourself in a completely different environment. Making friends with our mind in these scenarios when it's I don't have a bearing because I don't understand where I am. I've not experienced this.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Bhakti and Rosa. Hare Krishna. Yeah, I mean, your first question for me, it gets to we can call it the sattvic trap. Because like as things get better, then we become complacent. That's why it's described in the Bhagavatam. Akama kama ba mokshakam udariti. Tivrena bhakti yogina yajita purusham prava. Tivrena means intense. Prabhupada gives the example of like sunlight through a magnifying glass, intensely magnified, like it'll burn, so intense. And then sometimes that intensity can be there when we're suffering like anything. But then it's like, oh, I'm not suffering so much anymore. Or even, no, I'm actually happy. But then that's it, I've achieved the goal. So that's why when we quoted the verse where Krishna says, people come to me for different reasons, relief from misery, they want more money, different reasons. And it's all auspicious, but then the risk is if we come to Krishna to be relieved of misery, then by chanting Hare Krishna, oh, I'm relieved of misery. Okay. Why should I intensely get up every morning to da, da, da? And then whereas pure devotion, then there's that ever increasing pure intensity. So that's the sattvic trap. Queen Kunti, in one of her prayers, it's chapter 8 of Canto 1. Janmeshwarya Shutashubir Edaman Puman Naibrahat Yabidatum Vai Twama Kinchana Gochara. She says that those were like doing pretty well in their life, maybe financially, or they have good looks or education, whatever, those who are doing pretty well, they're at a disadvantage because it's difficult for them to feelingly call out, oh Govinda. She calls Krishna Tvama Kinchana Gotra. You're the shelter for the materially exhausted. So complacence is because we're not feeling materially exhausted. Now, material exhaustion is not intrinsically dependent on any particular external situation. Someone can have $20 billion, a big empire, and life's great. And they're sharp and they realize, and I'm all empty inside. And then they call out to Krishna. And on the other hand, someone can be penniless and related to, my Pandit Prabhu mentioned that the core is envy. So envy of others, it originates from our core envy of Krishna. So someone can have nothing, but they're not materially exhausted, and their goal of life is like, I want a big house on the hill like that one, and I'm gonna. So okay. Yeah. So when things are, maybe I know some of you maybe you've heard me tell this was back in my Israel days. I was serving as temple president in Tel Aviv, Israel. So this is like 87, 88. And we would go 6 days per week on Harinam Sankirtan in Dizengoff Square in Tel Aviv. It's like the main square in Tel Aviv. And so one guy, he was like really down and out, really dark countenance. And so so he started coming to the programs. We had six programs, 6 evening programs a week, every day except for Saturday. No, I mean every day except for Sunday, like that. No, Friday. Friday is the Shabbat, and so we had a evening program like that. So the East program was Saturday because Sunday is a work day in Israel. Sunday is a work day. The work week is Sunday through Friday. So he was like really suffering and dark and like that. And then he got a change, and then he joined the temple. And then because we had our Tel Aviv center on Frischman Avenue, and then out in Renana, we in the suburbs, we had a nice place in the suburbs. So he went there, and then he started coming to Mangalarti every day, shaved Dhoti Kurta, just following Prabhupada's program. And then after just a few days, he was completely transformed. Completely, he was just this blissful, shining, radiant, enthusiastic, joyful. And then after about 2 weeks, then we took him to one of our programs in Tel Aviv, in the city, like that. And anyhow, okay, his name was Bhakti Yonatan. So he was just like feeling wonder. And then he experienced at the Tel Aviv program, he experienced something he never experienced before. He experienced young, pretty women were attracted to him. It was a new and different experience. It never happened before. And now because he was just this like shining bright, naturally confident. And so he noticed young, attractive women were attracted to him. And so what he experienced was Krishna consciousness works. It's effective. It works. He got what he wanted, and after a few days, he went with one of the young ladies. He always remained very favorable. He would see us. He would see us. But so he came because he was down and out. It worked. You might say he got complacent, and then he got what he wanted, and like that. So that's an example. And then your other question relates to the distinction between mind and intelligence, right? So that's where my mind is unfamiliar here, and that's fearful. That's fearful. It can be exciting, just like say a child on a roller coaster. Mind and the material senses, this is unfamiliar.
I'll be able to behave as Krishna leads me.
Yeah, it's really having the intelligence. It's taking shelter in spiritual intelligence, which and then we're not slaves to the fluctuations of the mind and senses. That's the principle.
I don't know if this is the answer, but one of the things is that I'm learning tolerance. And as I'm seeing all of the muck and the things I wasn't aware of myself, my first reaction was like critical. And it's just so easy to fall, right? Because I'm holding the reins too tight. But as I am learning compassion and tolerance, there's like a line, right, of holding to discipline and commitment, but with compassion and tolerance from my tendencies.
Yeah, I appreciate you use the reins analogy, and I know the driver, the holder of the reins, that's the intelligence. So it's not about control. It's about balance. And at each phase of life, in each area of life, how tightly to pull the reins, and how much loose rein to give, so that the chariot and the horses truly support us in our path to self-realization and Krishna consciousness. Pulling the reins too tight, sometimes that's like some spiritual false ego. And look, I'll be the most austere person, and usually some spiritual false ego trying to imitate the Goswamis, letting the reins too loose. That can take different rationalizations, like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I don't like follow anything, I'm not committed to anything, but at least I'm humble, unlike those who, like, they have to change. For me, spiritual life is do what you feel, and the mind can just rationalize and make it look like that. So that reins analogy, that's the intelligence.
Christian.
Anything else?
Ajamila chanted Narayana
Yeah.
and it removed all his sinful actions.
Yes, that's a good example.
But he chanted, what is it? Helplessly, loudly, offenselessly.
Yes, helplessly, loudly.
He wasn't trying to counteract by chanting sins.
Yeah, he wasn't doing Namno Balad Yashahi Papa Booty. He wasn't like, I'll chant, then I can commit all the nonsense again, but then tomorrow I'll chant again. He wasn't doing that.
Helplessly also.
He was helpless. He had surrendered.
So is that how? I'm just thinking, like, unconsciously chanting, is there any like way to chant unconsciously, or
Yeah.
like all this ram truck? I have a ram truck. I'm liberated now.
Right.
So like all the ram truck salesmen.
Well, I appreciate the discussion. I gave so many credits. The first few chapters, especially the first chapter of the sixth canto, Prabhupada gave many talks on that. He talks to them. That gets into, I would say, another dimension of the discussion: offenses. So Ajamil was offenseless, and it's like, yeah. So even if he wasn't pure, but he was offenseless. He wasn't trying to slander the devotees because he was envious of them, and he wasn't blaspheming the Vedas. And we can imagine he was fully conscious, and like he was fully present with the name of Narayan. Offenses gets into a whole nother dimension of the discussion, which like Prabhupada talks about so much. But like one thing is, as deep as someone, because Ajamil, he was a terrible person. He committed terrible sins and violated people in the most horrific ways. But somehow he was offenseless when he chanted. So if we get into offenses, like that's like another consideration. And I think I'm not going to
To continue and commit offenses.
Well, of course, the spirit soul doesn't die. So after the soul leaves the body, the soul continued to has the possibility to commit offenses and choose Maya.
As soon as you chant, you kill yourself and you're liberated.
Okay. That's a strategy. That's a strategy. I mean, Prabhupada discusses that. There is a conversation where Prabhupada discusses that.
Yeah.
There is. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that definitely came up. And so, okay.
Like people go and jump in under the breath carts.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada definitely did not recommend that. At the same time, it's not that what you're saying doesn't have some philosophical validity. At the same time, definitely it's not recommended by our current link to the Parampara.
So, in this text, mentioning, for example, even just the chanting is, I guess, what's the definition of liberated? So if you're unconsciously chanting, does that mean, it works out, maybe you're offenseless, whatever's happening, that you then get Vaikuntha? Is that the definition of liberated? That you get to be with Krishna? Or is it that?
Well, we're chanting Hare Krishna means we're with Krishna.
Okay.
And then as Prabhu said earlier, it's not like liberated is a binary, yes or no. There are gradations. There's if we're on a little raft that's 2 inches tall, we're liberated from the ocean, but it's a fragile situation. In the middle, I'm liberated, but from the sharks, but it's fragile. And then there's solid land. Liberated, one common way to understand is I'm no longer disturbed by the modes of material nature and the pushing and pulling of the senses. And Krishna described it. Places on like 14 place where Krishna says that one who maybe delight the mindset of there's honor, not liberation. That at their level of liberation sense of are only Krishna. Even anything that would not please Krishna, the mind's not attracted to anything that wouldn't give pleasure to Srila Prabhupada. That's a higher level where the mind and senses themselves are spiritualized. But Krishna has another level, as the mind's doing it, as the senses doing what it does. But we go on in devotional service. That's also liberation. So the emphasis in such a verse is like to create samskars as much as possible, up to 100% of the time. Chant Hare Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, chant the names of God, chant japa, chant extra japa. That's what gets to the essence of the guidance here, just to fill all our memory cells and all of our synapses, fill our heart with the chanting up to 24 hours per day, Kirtanya, Sada, Hari. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare
You
Krishna.
have something else scheduled?